And I think a good place to start today is with Deshaun Watson. And this is the main thing that I want to talk about today and kind of re-stance my position, get another chance to talk about. Because foolishly, when the news about the Deshaun Watson allegation started coming out, and if you've been living under a rock for the past 2 months or so, Deshaun Watson, quarterback for the Houston Texans, is being accused by multiple women, 22 I believe, of some varying degree of sexual assault or sexual misconduct, whether that be forcing the massage therapist, and these are all massage therapists by the way, or some people giving massages, because as we found out, not all of them are licensed massage therapists. That'll be important going down the road. But to continue, they are accusing Deshaun Watson of some varying form of sexual assault, whether that be forced oral sex, whether that be groping, whether that be indecent exposure during a massage, which that's kind of a little bit of a funny thing. There's a lot of tiny chess moves and bits and pieces that are wrapped around in this. And when this move first, this story and these allegations first came out weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I was very quick to talk about the news because it was recent, and I want a chance to kind of re-stance myself and redo that take. I didn't end up posting that take on YouTube, which is why probably some of you are like, well, I haven't seen your take on this. What are you talking about? I talked about it on the podcast, but I didn't post it on YouTube because I felt like it was a little too soon, and I should probably have more respect not only for the women, but for the situation in itself, and I should make sure that I wait and do my research and let more things develop. So that's what I'm doing today, is I'm kind of... Well, first of all, I do want to make it very clear that I am not taking a side. I am not taking Watson's side. I'm not taking the women's side. I'm kind of just saying some general opinions about what I think, and I'm pushing all the evidence to the center of the table so you too can make your decision about what's going on. When I first, started covering these allegations, or I first, heard about it and made the video, I foolishly compared it to eating a full pizza. One slice of pizza per one allegation, and these were just when the allegations were coming out. It's like, okay, one slice of pizza, it's not too much of a big deal. It's going to, tide you over, theoretically speaking. Then you have 3 pieces of pizza. Okay, that's a full meal for most people. That's a decent size. That's something that you should, stop. You've had enough pizza. And then there's 7. There's 7 allegations. 7 slices of pizza, and you push yourself away back from the table and say, whoa, I'm full. I feel sick to my stomach. That's way too much. Something needs to be done. And I feel like that's a little bit too simple, or also a little bit disrespectful to compare such things that way. So I do want to apologize for that. And as I said, I want a chance to restart or reposition myself. Even though I'm not taking sides, I'm taking this chance to kind of have a little bit of a mulligan on that take. If Watson did actually assault any of these women, then he deserves punishment, whether that's suspension from the league, whether that's prison time. He deserves some type of punishment, and I want to make that abundantly clear. If he did actually assault any of these women, that's unacceptable, it's tragic, it's horrendous, and it should be punished. These are lawsuits that Deshaun Watson cannot afford to lose for him personally. They will more than likely reach a settlement in all of this, I would imagine. It really all depends on whether or not the lawsuit makes it to trial. I would be extremely surprised if this made it to trial. If it does go to trial, it's all being held in one court for consistency's sake. But I was talking with my father this morning. My father is a lawyer with over 30 or 40 years of experience in law. And granted, the type of law depends on what state you're in, but I had a discussion with him this morning about, how we felt about this, and we both kind of reached the same conclusions, and I want to share some of those conclusions with you. One of the more prominent conclusions that we reach is that if there's smoke, there's fire. And if there are 22 people that are sharing the same story about Deshaun Watson, that is a bad sign. Now, there's 18 people supposedly that are sharing the opposite story, but again, if there's smoke, there's probably a fire. Now, what's causing that fire can be up to interpretation, as it is in the court. There is a very real chance that Deshaun Watson wins against these allegations because the smoke from that fire did not materialize quick enough. Because the court will often take precedence and focus on the actions of the plaintiffs right after the event that is being accused of happened. Because of the time frame between the events that happened and the reporting of the lawsuits, the court, more often than not, takes the actions of the plaintiff in 24 hours following the incident very, very seriously. None of them filed police reports when it happened, and instead, the majority of them decided to lawyer up with the same ambulance chaser, Tony Busby. Which, when I first, covered the topic, I'm like, my BS meter is going off because you have this ambulance chasing lawyer, very prominent on social media, piling on these lawsuits. And that was a main point of contention of mine at first. So essentially, this is all going to turn into a he said, she said conversation in which it strictly becomes a debate of credibility, which will be extremely difficult for these women to win, especially because of who Deshaun Watson is. And that may be unfair, but that's kind of the way that it is. So when I say that it's more likely than not that Deshaun Watson either has all of these charges dropped, these lawsuits dropped, or a settlement is reached with all of these lawsuits, that's where this is coming from. It'll be extremely difficult to combat the credibility of Watson, and it will turn into a he said, she said type of lawsuit and trial, if it even makes it to trial. Now, some other things that, we noticed that I did want to state as kind of odd. Deshaun Watson made some of these women sign non-disclosure agreements. One of these girls has a copy of the non-disclosure agreement, and that strikes me as very odd. Why are you making your massage therapist sign non-disclosure agreements? That's a question that will need to be answered. You can hypothesize about why that is or what the NDA says, but very, very odd for Watson to be doing that. Another thing that we found to be kind of weird, if you have ever had a massage before, I personally have never had a massage before, but I know people that have, and I reached out to them to ask their opinion of this. And the response that I got was more or less the same. If you find somebody that gives a good massage, a massage is kind of like an art. There's different types of art, and not every piece of art is going to strike you the same way, but when you find an artist that you really, really like, you're going to want to stick with that artist. And the same thing kind of goes for massages. If you find that one massage therapist that gets it right, you're more than likely to try and rebook with them and revisit them. Deshaun Watson is visiting more than one, more than two, or more than three massage therapists in the Houston area. It's going on, I don't know the exact number, but like 40 to 50, I feel like. I don't know if that's the exact number, but it seems like the number of people just keeps piling up to the point where it's like, why do you need this many massage therapists? Are you really having trouble finding the right one that does a really good job for what you're asking for? And can you not find one through your various connections with the Houston Texans? I'm not sure why, Watson is getting massages with so many women, but that's, a really important detail. A good massage therapist is extremely hard to find, so when you find that person, you are more than likely to stick with them. I remember a story that came out talking about, Tom Brady and how he has remained loose and really active this late in his career, and he gets massages from the same 2 to 3 people 2 to 3 times a week. The number for Deshaun Watson seems to be exponentially more than that, so it begs the question, why that many? Now, the other thing that's kind of odd is that, one of these women, Deshaun Watson, flew in from Atlanta. They weren't in the Houston area. I believe most of them were in Houston. One was in Georgia, one was in Arizona, and maybe one was in California as well. So he went to extra lengths to fly somebody in from Atlanta to do the massage, in which obviously something happened during the course of the massage to result in a lawsuit. And the even more confusing thing, or interesting thing, is that 9 out of the 22 plaintiffs that are being represented by Tony Busby, which is the ambulance chasing attorney, maybe it's not right to call him ambulance station. That could promote some kind of bias. So I'll cease to call him that. He's the lawyer representing these women. 9 out of the 22 of them are actually licensed massage therapists, while the rest are either working towards massage licenses or specialize in skin treatments or other wellness therapies. Most of them live in the Houston area. That was per the ESPN article that came out the other day. So, to kind of wrap up how I'm feeling here, again, I don't want to take sides, and I'm not going to take a side, but pushing all that information and things that I found interesting or important. 2 questions. Why is Watson seeing so many of these massage therapists when most athletes only have a select group of massage therapists? Because once you find a massage therapist that does you right, there is no reason to go to anybody else for the most part. And obviously, exceptions are exceptions. And maybe Watson will argue that he is the exception. Also, why is Watson making some of these women sign non-disclosure agreements, and what is in that non-disclosure agreement? And furthermore, does that even really matter because of the actions of the plaintiffs waiting to file lawsuits instead of filing a police report within the first 48 hours of the incident happening? Again, oftentimes in court, if this even makes it to trial, the events following the first 48 hours are the most important. And if these women have waited so long, it brings into question the credibility of the actions, and it becomes a battle of credibility in which it's a he said, she said type of battle in which the defendant, especially if they're extremely famous and they have more to lose, are more likely to be sided with. So in that aspect, I feel bad for the women, especially if something bad happened and Watson did exactly what they're accusing him of. If Watson did exactly what they're accusing him of, damn him. Damn him, and there should be punishment involved in this. Now, a thought that did kind of cross my mind, there is that whole, well, Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson. He is a powerful figure. Maybe these women were scared and didn't come forward. They were afraid of what he could do to their careers. And there was a woman who did explicitly state that she was afraid of that, and Deshaun Watson threatened her of that. Now, whether or not that is true will remain to be seen. But that's kind of where I stand now, with Deshaun Watson, with these allegations. Again, not taking sides, but there are some interesting bits of information that are really confusing, and I'm interested to see whether or not those turn out to be true. Whether or not there's a settlement, nobody will know. I'm sure this will play out over the next couple of months. Hey folks, thank you so much for listening to this segment from the Hard-Headed Sports Podcast. If you enjoyed this segment, make sure that you drop a like on the video and a comment. It helps me out a bunch. And if you're interested in watching more segments like this from the show after the show has been completed, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Once again, thank you so much for watching the video. My name is Nick Ryan, and I will see you all again very soon.